Welcome to a very special edition of the Dart Show. Everything in the world of sport, of course, currently on hold, but this gives us the opportunity to look at the PDC season so far. So many talking points, of course, and we'll discuss what's to come on the calendar. I'm joined, as always, by my Dart Show regular, Dan Dawson, and I'm absolutely delighted to say Wayne Mardle is with us as well. We've got a very special guest joining us shortly as well. But gents, good to have you. How are you both? You all right?
Very well. Hairier, but coping.
Yeah.
I'd be hairier today.
But first, of course, sport all over the world on hold right now due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. It's also affected the PDC calendar. All the information, though, on the events on our website. Let's talk more about this and much, much more. I'm delighted to say I'm with the PDC Chief Executive, Matt Porter. Matt, how are you coping? You all right?
Yeah, fine, Michael. Keeping my head up like everyone else, doing our best.
Good. Matt, obviously you get a lot of questions on a daily basis, don't you? Just give us an update on how we all stand in terms of the PDC calendar.
The aim for us now is to look at what the second half of the year might look like, and can we get as much away as possible in that time? Can we hold on to the World Match Play? Has the World Cup got any chance in Germany in June? What do we do with the World Series? And then obviously when we head into the busy autumn period where we have wall-to-wall events every weekend anyway, how can we fit the rearranged tour events around those and give the players that aren't necessarily going to be playing on TV every week, give them the chance to catch up on their year as well?
Yeah, Matt, I mean, it must be so difficult at the moment trying to fit everything in. Is the message for fans just wait and see, stay on the official website, stay on the Twitter, and we'll update you when you know yourself?
Yeah, we're working on everything, and the fans have been great, been very patient, very understanding, as of course everybody's had to be, because we're not the only ones in this boat, unfortunately. So our aim, as we've said before, is to play as much darts as we can this year. We won't just be scrapping things unless we absolutely have to. We'll look to rearrange everything. Some stuff might end up getting pushed back into 2021, some of the standalone events. But we're hoping that everything that has a material impact on the structure and the rankings and the tour, we'll be able to get it away. It might mean we've got some busy people in September, October and November, but I think because of the phase we're going through at the moment, nobody will be complaining about that.
Yeah. Could a major go potentially, given there's so many things to cram in?
Yeah, I mean, of course, look, at everything could go. If we're not allowed to get out there and play and bring people into an arena, then there's not a lot we can do about that. But our main aim is to preserve the biggest events. That's got to be our focus. And if that means playing them later in the year, playing them in a truncated format, playing them over a shorter number of days, anything like that, then that might have to be an option we consider. But our aim at the moment, and fortunately, with the way our calendar falls, the only thing we really have in the first half of the year after the UK Open and before the World Cup is the Premier League. So at the moment, it's just the Premier League and the tour events that we've had to work on. Clearly, unless restrictions are lifted, if we get to August, September and we're still in the same boat, then a few more things will fall into that category too.
Now, of course, I've got two guests with me who are always on the PDC circuit. Gents, have you got any questions for Matt?
Yeah. Go on. No, Dan.
No, go on, Wayne. Go on.
Matt, just want to, will ranking events prioritise over invitationals or not?
Yeah, I think ideally yes, but I think we have to look at things like venue availability, broadcaster schedules, the length of events and things like that. It might be that, let me give you an example that isn't true, but if it was the case, let's say, for example, we couldn't get into the Winter Gardens for any other week this year, apart from the third week in July, then what could we do with the World Match Play? It would be very difficult to do that somewhere else, on a one-off basis, over, say, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, making that example up. But the aim would be to preserve the biggest events. Most of those are the ranking events, of course. And then the flexibility we have away from the TV cameras is that we can schedule tour events anytime we like, so players will be playing midweeks and things like that. We know which events are the ones that we want to really, really work our hardest to preserve. But we will be, at the moment, trying to keep everything going.
Would it be beyond the realms of moving events from where they're normally played to other venues just to play them?
Possibly. I mean, it becomes extremely difficult with an event like the World Match Play, where we've sold 13,000, 14,000 tickets already for that event. and all those people will clearly be hoping to go, whether it's the third week in July or whenever. There are other events which aren't on sale yet, events where the staging is flexible, where the scheduling is flexible, and we could look to move those around. But fortunately, we've been in touch with all of our major venues, and we do have, we have conversations going about backup dates. So it's just a question of knowing when the right time to push the button on those is.
Good luck with the impossible task. Good luck.
To be fair, you've addressed my main question about if there's a sort of hierarchy of events that you want to put on. You know the ones you want to put on. Presumably the match play is one of those, but it'll all be dependent on what's available and how you can do it. And that's obviously changing all the time. With those ranking events, or with any event, there are criteria to qualify for it. And that's all been thrown up in the air with rankings. Have you come to any conclusion on how the rankings are going to look, or is that still with the PDPA?
Yeah, we're working with the PDPA on that, because if we can't deliver a decent number of tour events before the match play, whenever that may be staged, then we might have to look at cut-off dates and which events we include in the consideration for who plays, because clearly we haven't had too many Pro Tour events in 2020 so far. Fortunately, the benefit of a rolling order of merit, which we do have as well, is that it keeps a certain number of events in it. But clearly, when you have a big blank period within that rolling order of merit, it becomes skewed. So we might have to work on whether we alter those dates. And that's been, that conversation's been opened with the PDPA, the Players Association, with a view to making sure that it is as fair for all tour card holders, whether they're at the top of the list or whether they only gained their tour card a couple of months ago.
I was also a big fan of what the PDPA did in putting that they were making grants available for players to support them, which is obviously important for a lot of the lower ranked players, people who've perhaps given up jobs to try and make it as a PDC Pro. The top 16 we know are earning big money and have done for a number of years. But have you had players contacting you or the PDPA to say that they have been struggling in this time, or worry that they will?
Yeah, there are a number of players who've taken advantage of the initial hardship fund, which is good in a way that it means that it will help them through this period. Clearly it's not an ideal situation for anybody to be in, but the fact that it's there and can help people in the short term is something that that we can be reassured by. And there is a further phase of funding that will be available to players as well. We don't want anybody to fall off the end of a cliff here. This is important that we help each other. Darts is a big family, and it's a cliche, and it's what everybody's always said. But we've all shared in the good times, so it's important that we help each other through the challenging times as well. That's why the PDPA have really stepped up to the mark. Their communication with players at the moment is excellent. There's messaging going out to them all the time. There's support in the form of financial assistance, mental welfare assistance, and other things that can help anybody at this period. And important to note as well that it doesn't just apply to UK players, because it's around a quarter of the membership that are non-UK. And obviously different people have different travel restrictions and different governmental assistance that's coming their way at the moment. So, we're trying to keep everybody in communication and keep everybody in a position where they know that there's support available for them if they need it.
Yeah, kudos to PDPA and PDC. Job well done there.
Absolutely. Just a final one, Matt.
We're doing what we can.
Just a final one, Matt. I mean, obviously, darts has been in a great place for a number of years now and growing, but there will be all sorts of contracts that this blank period will affect. You're confident the PDC is in a strong enough position that whenever it returns, the tournaments will still be able to put on. There's not going to be any sort of massive, well, I'm not sure we can put this on now because we've lost out on previous broadcasting deals or whatever. No,
I mean, we're fortunate in that we do have reserves, and that rainy day money is, never been more useful than it will be over the next few months. But also in the same vein, because our events are not necessarily calendar specific in the way that some sports events are, we should hopefully be able to get most of them away. So because we've got reserves that can tide us over whilst we've got no income, we can still guarantee, that the operation will keep going, and that we should be able to catch up hopefully within a few months.
Cool. Excellent.
Matt, it's fun. We look at the Football Premier League, and there's a lot of talk about it being void, and they say that it's too expensive to be void. But for you, do you think the Premier League only works with a crowd?
Yeah, Premier League darts only works with a crowd. Yeah. I mean, there's, obviously tour events are played behind closed doors. We had the bizarre situation in Minehead a couple of years ago with the snow, where we played the UK Open behind closed doors, and that was really a last-minute thing because it all sort of happened overnight. But we wouldn't plan to do Premier League darts behind closed doors. It doesn't really serve a purpose. If there's such a thirst for content that we need to deliver behind closed doors darts, well, we can do that. But it wouldn't be Premier League darts. It just isn't what it's all about.
The Premier League is just so enjoyable for everyone. I mean, the crowds are getting brilliant. They're always packed as well. On a positive note, it has been a great start to the Premier League as well, hasn't it? I mean, you can still go on the PDC YouTube page and see some quality matches. Yeah,
there's been so many stories coming out of the year so far, and that's what makes it such a shame. I mean, look at all those 100 averages that we've had so far. We've probably had as many in the first 3 months of this year as we maybe did in pretty much the whole of last year. Standard's been unbelievable. And you look into the Premier League and you see the new boys, Durrant and Aspinall, who've come in there absolutely fearless. We've had the contender stories again. It's been thrilling entertainment, and without sounding like a stuck record, that is what Premier League darts is all about. So the sooner we can get it back up and running, the sooner we can put a smile back on everyone's faces, then let's do it.
Absolutely, Matt. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. All up to date now. Fantastic. We cannot wait for it all to resume. We've got a special guest coming up, a man who's top of the Premier League. But before that, let's have a look at all the action from Exeter.
Night 5 of the Premier League was held in Exeter, and it was a cracker. Darryl Gurney picked up a point with his draw against Rob Cross.
It's been a real cracking game to start off the night here in Exeter. Darryl Gurney pins double 10.
Glen Durrant returned to the summit of the Premier League with a 7-3 win over Gerwyn Price.
Double 12 to do it in 3. Magnificent way to finish a magnificent performance.
Peter Wright undoubtedly had the performance of the night in his dominant display over Nathan Aspinall.
Perfect performance from Peter. Tops. Masterful from the world champ.
We then saw history created as Luke Humphries became the first challenger to get a win in the Premier League, overcoming Gary Anderson 7 legs to 5.
And Luke Humphries, in absolutely madcap circumstances, hits the madhouse and becomes the first challenger to win a match in the Premier League. The 14th attempt is a successful one, and Humphries somehow, someway beats Gary Anderson in Exeter.
The final match had seen many predict a Michael van Gerwen victory. However, the bully boy Michael Smith had other ideas.
Tops now. He'll get this, surely he'll get this. He's giving Michael van Gerwen one hell of a tonking here.
That 134 checkout swung the game well in Smith's favour, and he ran out a 7-4 victor against the world number 1.
Double 8. That is the win. There's the relief from Michael Smith.
So they were the best bits from Exeter. So what a time. It's all about flow in television and online. Because I'm delighted to say Glen Durrant, the Premier League leader, is with us. Glen, just seen the clips from Exeter. You're loving the Premier League so far, aren't you?
Yeah, the Exeter was pretty special. The atmosphere was as up there with Dublin, and I felt I was up against it playing, Gerwyn Price, and he was playing so well, and that was a terrific night for me.
Look, I know how much you love football, how much you love your borough. So I see you when you look around. You're still taking it in just how big these arenas are. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
He's always got something at hand. That is that.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's not a parmo.
That's later.
Yeah. Glen, am I right in saying that you sometimes look at it and think, wow, I'm just still taking all this in, just the atmosphere?
The first couple, honestly, Glasgow last year when I played in the Challenger, that was just overwhelming. I can't remember the game, to be honest with you. But beating Michael Smith in the opening game was a real settler, and nothing could be as bad as the Fallon game. It was so nerve-wracking. I knew I was on. I couldn't win that game. Whether I win 7-0 or 7-5, it was really tough. So from there, I'm just enjoying the experience. It's unbelievable, really. It's mind-boggling.
Well, Wayne, you've been there every step of the way with Glen, haven't you? How impressive have you been with Glen the first few weeks?
Well, I've said it throughout all of last year when he was playing in the majors, in the Grand Prix, the Grand Slam, and the match play. Glen knows that my thoughts. I've not seen him play that well yet. He played great against Gerwyn Price. That was his best performance that I think I've seen from him within the PDC on the big stage. So that, to be as successful as he's being right now without hitting top form, it's testament to how he approaches the game. He's a thinker. You really try and improve, Glen, don't you? You want to get better.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I've always said I'm not the guy with the most natural talent. My darting life came together when I was 45-year-old, and that's why I'm the one who's pinching himself. That's the guy who's living the dream, etc. But I work harder than anybody. The room I'm in right now is where I'm in here 4 or 5 hours a night, and it's not always just about the darts as well. It's just looking into things and just having time away from the day-to-day stuff, and I'm always striving to improve.
You're on a bit of a fitness regime as well, aren't you? How much have you lost?
I put 4 pound on. I'm gutted. I have no alcohol or nothing for 13 days, but yeah, I'm whacking the parmos into me at the moment with a board.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, sooner this is over, the better for you.
I'll be back down. Back down to no, I'm a little bit disappointed. So we're making a lovely walk this morning. It's a beautiful day, and I've had my daily exercise, and hopefully back onto it now.
I don't get this, Glen. Like, I've said this to you before, and you've not given me a satisfactory answer. You are a 3-time world champion. You are top of the Premier League, and you've been knocking on the door of potentially winning majors in a very short space in PDC darts. And yet you still give it the arm, little old Glen Durrant, I'm not very good, all these other players are better than me. This is all a complete front, isn't it? This is all lies. You're right up there with the top players in the world.
I pride myself on giving an honest answer to everything, and that's exactly when you've got to remember, Dan, most of the times you interview me is a minute, 2 minutes after, like a high-profile game, just come off that stage, and sometimes you regret things that you say because the emotions are so high. But I'm here now, just relaxing, and genuinely, it's my story's a great one. My story's about this guy. It's all happened to him sort of really late in his career. And I stand by every word that I say. I really genuinely pinch myself. And it's only when you start beating the Gary Andersons, the Darryl Gurneys on a Premier League stage that you start thinking, maybe I'm just underselling myself a little bit. But that's the genuine feelings I have, when I'm playing up there. It's just great.
Are you quite hoping that all the Premier League now is cancelled and you're made de facto champion of it? Because that would be a major win.
It would be incredible. The 275 grand would be very nice. But what I would say is, obviously, Newcastle and Rotterdam were the two I highlighted from the beginning. Newcastle because 40 minutes from my home, circa 500 people going from Middlesbrough to that match. And to play Michael van Gerwen in Rotterdam was just, that was just set up for something really magical for me. So, but it's been an amazing time, the banter I have on social media, just being sat top of the table for as long as I have, I can use that for a bit of fun, a bit of banter and that, but it's been a brilliant experience.
Good stuff, man.
Now, we're all at home, and obviously, Glen, you can still practice on your practice board, but Wayne has been a bit of a Mother Teresa on social media. You've been helping plenty of people, Wayne, with their darts from home.
Yeah, look, I'm as bored as everyone else, and if I can help someone out, I'll help them. I'll help them. Look, there's things I know within the game, but the action is my thing. I study absolutely everyone more than you know. And if I can help someone, I will. I love it. it's something to me that, because when I was playing, when I was a professional darts player and I could actually throw, well, maybe 2 or 3 straight darts every now and again, I wanted to know why it went wrong. And I was only 38 when it went wrong. And I wanted to know why. And since kind of the days of me packing up, I've just become absolutely infatuated with the way people throw. And even though we all throw differently, we all have common traits. We all stand there, we all lift our arm up, we all grip the dart, and we all propel it. We have to. That's the rules. So we have a hell of a lot in common, but we just find different ways to do it.
Absolutely. Now, here's a good time, I think. We're still staying on the Premier League thing for Duzza. Let's have a look at how well he did and the rest of the highlights from Liverpool.
World champion Peter Wright breezed past Michael Smith.
Double 18, there it is, with a 10-dart closing salvo from the world champion to get the job done.
Full debutant Glen Durrant carried on his extraordinary season, beating Daryl Gurney in a deciding leg.
And what a Premier League campaign this is for Glen Durrant. 4 wins out of 6, 2 points clear at the top of the table.
Gary Anderson and Nathan Aspinall shared the points with a draw.
What an entertaining match that was. Nathan Aspinall draws with Gary Anderson, 6 legs apiece.
The best match of the night was Michael Van Gerwen versus Gerwin Price, with some outstanding finishing.
For a rip-roaring red-hot finish.
The Green Machine made light work of some big checkouts.
Oh, it made that look as easy as 1, 2, 3.
While the Iceman was maybe too keen to keep the action going. In a game that many hoped wouldn't end, MVG saw out a 7-5 victory.
Michael Van Gerwen beats Gerwin Price by 7 legs to 5 in what was an absolute fantastic game. I don't know what happened there, but Gerwin Price did not want to look at Michael Van Gerwen.
Well, all of that means Durrant heads the table with Michael Van Gerwen hot on his heels. We'll find out later in the year how the season concludes.
There you have it, fully up to date on a great Premier League so far. Great Premier League for that man there, Glen Durrant. Glenn, a win against Daryl Gurney, a 7-5 win. Tell us about that match.
I mean, the week before I was fired up. I know, once again, they put a microphone in your face 30 seconds after the game, and I blame Wayne Mardle, I blame Paul. But the bottom line that was, I just had some fight in my belly. I knew I was going to win that match, and I had a 6-hour train journey where I was reading everything, Sky Sports, I was reading Wind, I was reading blogs, I was reading podcasts and whatever, and I just had that fire in the belly. Against Daryl, I knew it was a huge game because mathematically, I'm now going to see out the Premier League season, and people, Wayne, Paul, would then say, I think Glenn's going to win it. I think they genuinely thought, oh, they didn't want me to kick off and start crying again. So I think I just got more satisfaction out of that game than anything, because Daryl was fighting for his life. He's a major winner, and to come out with that 7-5 and back, on top of the Premier League again, it was probably my favourite game of the year.
Before Wayne and Dan involved, just one question: how have you found the travelling? Because that's one thing some of the players say to me, that they find it quite tough sometimes. But have you enjoyed it?
No. But I've got a conclusion to that: is that I hate travelling. It's crazy how many times I say the word Middlesbrough in all my interviews, and I really am a home boy. I love being at home and, just being in my own surroundings I like. And I've complained and moaned and whined about being in European tours where you lose first round and you've got like a day and a half to kill. But I tell you one thing that this coronavirus has done now is made me realise what a lucky man I am. And, there won't be any more complaints from me now. So whether I'm travelling, whatever, this period of reflection and self-reflection is really important to me. It's been really big, and there'll be no more further complaints from me now.
Nice. Wayne?
Yeah, Glenn, just I want to know kind of behind the scenes. Like, I've played in a few Premier Leagues, so I know you can get close to certain players in the practice room and you kind of sit with them having meals and what have you. But are there any other players that you kind of gravitate to when you're in the players' room?
That's a great question. And like I said, I'll be really honest with you. For the first 2 weeks, I gravitated to nobody. And I was getting a bit like the black sheep of the Premier League. And, you know, straight away, Michael Smith gravitates to Nathan Aspinall. Then you get Gary Anderson, Michael and Darryl usually together. So I was relying on Peter Wright. And I think Peter's been the guy I've been closest with on the Pro Tours, etc. And he came in and he sat with the family of Gary Anderson, etc. So for the first couple of weeks, I was like, you know, nobody's interested in me. But what I'm always looking, like you said, I am a thinker. And Gerwyn Price comes in, and no matter where people are sat, he will go and sit in his own. He will do his own. He'll practice with the guys, and I was surprised to see how he practices so much with Michael van Gerwen. But as the weeks have gone on, I felt like the acceptance has sort of been there a little bit better now, and you know, and I've practiced with all the guys now and having a bit of fun and banter with them, and do you know, that's meant an awful lot to me. And yeah, it's a strange situation, that back room, because the only time I ever went in, Wayne, is when you played and Phil was there and Adrian, and it was just pure laughter. You know, they're having daft little games between them for a bit of fun, and it's a lot more serious now. The music goes in the ear. I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I'm not sort of into all that. I just do my own thing. But as the weeks have got better, and answer your question, it's you know, I feel a lot more accepted.
So you're enjoying it more. You're enjoying it more.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I worry. I like to please everybody. So I couldn't get my head around why nobody wanted to practice with me. And I have got this thing at the moment, ever since that Barney said that, you know, Glenn's very difficult to play because he's so slow. Well, for 40 years of my life, I didn't realise I was a slow player. And when he got interviewed...
You're not that slow. Don't let what anyone says bother you. You do your own thing, mate.
But I was thinking, and I didn't want to come into the PDC and be this guy. I remember being introduced at an exhibition by John Gwynn, and he called me the new Dennis Priestley. No. And I was like, I'm not that slow, am I? So, you know, so they're the kind of things what it's like. But it got to a stage then where you're watching the Gerwyn Prices of this world where he doesn't care if he upsets anybody. And I've got that mentality now. I'm there to do a job. You know, if you're successful, you can earn some good money. And that's my philosophy right now.
If you're successful, you're going to upset them anyway. You can't win.
True. Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that statement.
Glenn, I want to get your, as a player at the top of the Premier League, where do you think the balance of power lies at the minute in the world of darts, or did before this break? Because obviously MVG is the number one. Price is right up there and looking like he could win anything. Wright's world champion, Aspinall and Smith playing brilliant stuff. You're top of the Premier League. It feels as open as it's been at the very, very elite level as it has for many years.
I don't think there'll be a time for me where I don't disagree that Michael is still the best player. My feeling is that when he wants to be the best, he can be the best. But Gerwyn Price is the one guy who's really, really impressed me. Just everything about him. I love playing him. I've loved watching him behind the scenes and at the Europeans, Pro Tours, everything like that. I'm sort of gauging what he does. I think Nathan Aspinall's got just the most amazing future. Bully Boy has just got, it's just, sometimes when you practice with him, that's part of I've got no talent, and I'm very lucky because he's so unbelievable behind him. The Chris Dobies of this world, they're just hitting 180 after 180 all the time. But in relation to the balance of the power, I think there's three, you know, Price, Michael van Gerwen and Peter Wright, because of, you know, he's the world champion. Gary Anderson, you know, we're maybe just half a dart behind them at the moment. But to be part of the elite, to be part of the top 9 players in the world at the moment, it's pretty humbling, it's pretty special, but I've got to get that little bit of anger. I'm top there for a reason right now, and would love to get to the final 4. That would be very, very special.
Quite right, you are top there for a reason, Glenn. Remember that.
Will do.
So the Premier League has dominated the first few months of the PDC calendar, but a tournament we love, and we know all you fans love as well, is the UK Open. So here are the best bits from that tournament in Minehead.
Minehead once again played host to the UK Open. 159 players from all over the world eyeing up the £100,000 first prize. This year we saw 2 women qualifiers in Lisa Ashton, who automatically qualified as a PDC professional, and Fallon Sherrick, who had come through a Riley's qualifying event. Sadly, they were both eliminated in the first round. But Jason Askew, who we earlier saw qualify, sailed through his first 2 matches, as did Lewis Williams, an 18-year-old student having the time of his life. Fellow Welshman Johnny Clayton completed his first ever televised 9-darter. There were some extremely close matches, with the top pros being pushed right to the wire.
Double 5! And Michael van Gerwen absolutely on the brink.
It was an all-Welsh semi-final as Gerwyn Price faced Johnny Clayton, and it was the Iceman who dominated the match.
And there it is. What a way to finish.
The second semi-final saw MVG take on Daryl Gurney, and the world number 1 didn't disappoint.
We have lived off. That was absolutely monstrous.
After that, he breezed his way through to the final.
Another fantastic display from Michael van Gerwen.
Price had beaten Van Gerwen in 2 of their last 3 meetings and rushed into a 5-1 lead. However, his double started to let him down, and it allowed MVG back into the game.
It's all going wrong. Double 2. Oh, what a dance!
Van Gerwen took the lead and then took the title.
Boom! And a big boom from Michael van Gerwen, who wins the UK Open for a 3rd time.
So they're the best bits from the UK Open, a fantastic final. I want to start with Glenn. Ben, how did you find this year's UK Open?
Well, first of all, I love the UK Open. My first game was against Terry Jenkins at Bolton around about 2005, and it was my first experience of playing on the Sky TV. So it holds a lot of good memories. Last year was poor for me. I lost to Gavin Carlin very early. But literally 24 hours after beating Gerwyn Price, and it just didn't work out. You know, the draw came, my name came out first. I'm screaming to the TV, high number, and number 2 come out, and obviously that was Peter Wright. And I had opportunities, I had a chance, and you know, he proved why he's the world champion. Is finishing at the end. When I'm really good, 7 each, 8 each. They're the games I've been sort of winning the past couple of years, and that was the mentality. But he just showed his class at the end.
I mean, you're a massive football fan. You know, I love the FA Cup element, the element of surprise. Anyone could get anyone. You talk about when you played it at the Reebok. Was there any temptation back then to cross over to the PDC? I mean, the BDO were a hell of a lot stronger then, granted, but were there any sort of temptations?
I wasn't good enough. 2005 was way before I even didn't start travelling to BDO 2011. So I don't think it was right in the heart of when I was playing an awful lot of darts. So there was never any thought right then. You know, it was just about paying the bills, and you know, I did enjoy being a housing manager as well. I never once thought that darts would be my professional career, but it was mega. It was a brilliant atmosphere at the Bolton ground. It was, and that's Colin Osborne's from where I live, and I remember that was the birth of him, and he was amazing there. But a fabulous comp, and love the FA Cup style.
Wait, you know the UK Open really well, but I want to talk about the season in general, because I said this to Dan on the last Dart Show. Do you get the impression, just looking at the Players' Championship tournaments every weekend, they're getting even more competitive now? No one wants a weekend off. They really want to win every single tournament. Do you get that feeling as well?
Yeah, I do. And I also think we're seeing a few kind of different winners, if you like, because a lot of the big hitters are having more time off. Their time management is better than it's probably ever been. The likes of Michael van Gerwen just had a baby son, Mike. So he's going to be taking more time off. Gary Anderson, Peter Wright, they're kind of at it as well. But Yeah, I think you're right with the standard. They can. I'm going to say they can. They all can, but of course, when I say they all 128 can't play well to a winning standard each week, of course they can't. But a lot of them, game in, game out, can play to an incredible standard. And just going back to the UK Open, the way Jelle Klassen started to play better, I can see him being more of a danger on the Pro Tour. There's a Daryl Gurney's now in form again. There's a lot of players that have been there, seen it, done it, that have kind of gone missing for a while, that are now coming back. So you've got to put them into the equation. You've got to put the big hitters up there and those that are on the rise anyway, of which there are lots. I just think the format, the best of 11, it just lends itself to absolute carnage. You cannot, not even Van Gerwen, not anyone playing well. You can't go into those events thinking, I'll win today. You might be able to in the elongated kind of match plays and world championships thinking, I've got a great chance here. As Glenn knows, those Pro Tours, they are brutal. You miss one dart, a three-figure pop, and you miss it, you're out.
Yeah. Dan, you did a grand job working on the UK Open that weekend, in charge of all the other boards. You do all the PDC Tour events as well. Do you think maybe, from a fan's perspective, as a pundit's perspective, we could even have more tournaments similar to the UK Open because the fans really got involved?
I love the UK Open for that reason. You've got so much different action. And I think what Wayne's saying there about different players, no player is dominating. And as Glenn said, even at the elite level, it's very, very open at the minute. But there's so much top quality darts to watch. You go on the outside boards, players who aren't even being thought of for selection on the main stage, they're chucking massive averages. And while Wayne's here, I want to ask him as well. You're talking about the tour events. Over the last year and a half, 2 years, Nathan Aspinall has gone from being a player with potential to looking like one of the best 4 or 5 players in the world right now, and has done for a while. You've done work with Devon Peterson, and he's gone to another level. Somebody like Dirk van Dijvenbode has changed how he approaches the game, and he's playing the best darts he's ever played, and not just an odd weekend. It's been all the way through the year. He's been chucking big averages. What is it that players need to go from being a good player who's obviously got talent, who can throw massive averages, but just hasn't, potentially over a number of years, to finding that next level, to unlocking something, to potentially realising their, what they could do, get their dreams in the game and make it happen? How do they do that?
Well, the way I teach and the way I approach the game is it's similar to what golf coaches do. It's putting in movements that should be there and putting in the correct movements and taking away the bad ones. And look, I can play golf kind of very badly sometimes and very well others because my swing is inconsistent. Darts is the same. You want to do the same thing time and time again. Devon was one of those where he had no backswing. He literally used to see it. That's what he kind of used to do. There was no backswing. So the first thing we had to do was implement a backswing. Now, what that's going to do is make him smoother and make him less likely to throw himself at the board as well. So in giving him a backswing, you get rhythm, better timing, and you also keep the body still or more still than it was. So that was a great big plus for him. And also with the better take back, the better backswing, you can propel the dart better on the follow through. So just by fixing one thing, or just by altering one thing, fix a lot of bad movements for him. But of course, he's done hard work. He's the one that is really stuck with it. A lot of others that I've seen, it's fine for a while, but then they can revert back. And I've always said to Devon especially, just under pressure, know that this works. And once you know it works under pressure once, you're so likely to stick with it. It's about replication. It's about doing the right thing time and time again. And all we want, Dan, even look, you, me, Banksy plays, Glenn, I've seen Bridgie plays, absolutely useless. We all want to do the same thing time and time again. Professionals are no different.
Yeah, I chucked 26s time and time and time again. It's already worked anyway because you won him a title because you won the darts at home thing, the first one we did last week. So that presumably, presumably you were cheering him on.
Well, presumably I backed him. Yeah. No DRA for me.
Did you watch that? Cheering on Matt Edgar in that one, Glenn?
I watched one of his matches. He's a funny guy. It's all banter. I'm beginning to like him more and more. But what a great concept! You know, when I was watching on the live, you know, it was up to 4,000 or 5,000 people watching it all at one point. It was really, really enjoyable and very, very good.
Well, everyone watching now, Darts at Home will be coming back. So stay on our PDC Twitter for more updates on that. But guys, before we go, Dan, hoping all right? You okay?
Yeah, fine. Everything good. Lovely to see your beautiful faces.
Thank you, Dan. And Glenn, it's great to have you on. Still doing all your practicing. Now, before you go, you love a parmo. For those who don't know how good a parmo is, tell us, because I didn't realise it was a Teesside delicacy. Tell us what is a parmo.
Breaded chicken, breadcrumbs, chicken, deep fried, bechamel sauce, normal cheese on top, under the grill. About 4,000 calories, but I am down to about 2 a day now.
Wayne, do you fancy that?
So it's basically a rip-off of a schnitzel.
Exactly. But the poor man's version, when I go over to Germany and Holland and I order schnitzel, it's not in comparison really, but that's the closest thing I've ever seen to it.
Right.
Love them.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Wayne, you're keeping busy as well, helping people at home. So, and I'd say keep encouraging, keep sending in your tweets to yourself to keep them practicing. Yeah,
keep sending in your tweets and videos and whatever. But most of stay at home, stay safe. Just keep ploughing on, guys. All we can do is just sit it out and enjoy ourselves as much as we can. And if you're doing what Glenn does, eating 2 parmos a day, good luck.
Perfectly said, Wayne. Absolutely perfect. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Glenn, absolute pleasure. And Wayne, thank you for joining us as well. That's it for a very special edition of the Dart Show. We'll be back soon. If you want more information on tournaments, upcoming tournaments throughout the year, please go on our website and stay across all of our social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter. But for now, thank you very much.